well, we're in part 2 of End of God. Well, you see in the background an awesome video of CDK007, and you can watch it because I'm giving a link, and also a link to his channel. You're supposed to subscribe or watch a lot of his videos. They're really nice and also awesome. So, let's get back to the subject. Oh, my argument just grind about the Omnimax who's, well, omnibenevolent, which means all-loving and would not deceive you. And there are many variations on that, maybe God's deceived by Satan, or he's just playing a prank on you, or he's just a weak being. You could just think about it, but it doesn't disprove a God, it just makes him questionable. The second stuff is just, well, disproving your Omnimax. It's just making Omnimax impossible to prove, indistinguishable from something like, I don't know, a less knowledgeable being. And you really get a grind that this doesn't disprove the God concept, but it disproves pretty much this all-loving and all-knowing part. So, how to disprove God? Well, they actually don't, but they pretty much challenge the Omnimax and the omnibenevolent creature. So, how to disprove a God, a God concept like a God creator? Because it's pretty a grinder to think about. First, let's start over all-encompassing question. Why did God create us? Think about it. You can pause the video and think about, have a tea, relax. How about you can also go with me? So, why created us God? You may ask, because he loved us, or some explanation, insert here. Maybe because it was bored, or is a sadist, and with toys. It doesn't care. Insert your answer here. Next question is, did he really want to do it? Because if he really wanted us, wanted to create us, he would have created it very soon. But how long did God exist without us? Had God a beginning? No, he didn't. The Christians stay always. God had no beginning. He was always here. So, how long is always? It's a pretty long period of time. Let's think of it. How long is really always? Because let's assume the creation of the universe and us at point zero. We were created at point zero. So God what? At this point have humans, and that is creation magic. But how long did he exist with us? A millennium? A googolplex of millenniums? If you really regress, if God had no beginning, he existed an entire eternity without humans. Because if you ask, but what before that part that we just regressed to googolplex of billions of years, and you ask, yeah, he was still there. He was doing, what was he doing? Nothing. He was just there. So, why create us? Again, this question loops back. When God can perfectly exist an entire eternity without us, then why us? This question would be loopy, but it's just a catalyst for something more deep. Because if you really think of it, if God had no beginning, no point of God simply starting to exist, but simply always existed, then how long is that? It's entire eternity. You're saying to me that God existed entire eternity, and it suddenly ended, that it pretty magically ended, and God created us? This insane amount of time is simply impossible to simply end, because this gives in the question, well, then is your eternity with God and existing for always also be so short, you could say. But regardless of that, God exists an insane amount of time without us. And we're looping back here, because this is the main body, but God performed something impossible, even in his definition, because it's defined the concept of existing forever with God. If he existed forever without humans, then there are only two explanations to that. Either God had a beginning and was a simple number of minutes or years or whatever existing without us, and He created us. In the beginning, you could say that recently after the beginning of God, He created merely humans because He needed them. But if He existed a long time, even without a beginning, He really doesn't need us, and this questions our necessity and our belonging, or even our purpose for God. Why create us? Again, this question loops back. This is the main body of the questions. So, even if God had a beginning, you would ask yourself, but who created God? Yeah, that's an old question, it's stupid, but yeah, if God had a beginning, well, what actually was before Him? So, again, you say, Christian, no, He existed forever, but He existed in an entire eternity without us. That's simply scary, but they also say God exists outside of time. And that's pretty funny, because I'm pretty into 4 dimensions and other stuff like tesseracts or hypercubes, which are 4-dimensional beings, and it doesn't make sense. You cannot be outside of time. It's an impossibility. You know why? Because if you move another dimension above, you're just getting another dimension. You're not getting rid of the last dimension. For instance, if you take a flat plane, that's a simple example, you have 2 dimensions, x and y. And if you move beyond this plane, you still have x and y, and then you have z. It doesn't get rid of the dimension. It just expands your possibility to move. You can say that our time had a beginning, and God existed outside of our time. Then, how long did God exist in God time? For a better question. No, but saying that God exists outside of time is also paradoxical, because if God has no time dimension, it's crippled. It's another better explanation than say God can win the Olympics because He's crippled and cannot move. It's simply paradoxical. If God has no time progression, He's like a program that cannot execute the next line. He's stuck, He's frozen in time, because He would have the interactive capabilities of a picture. He would never move, He would never change. He would be simply an object, frozen in time forever. Another possibility to progress in the time direction. That's the means, but if you start thinking of it, it doesn't make sense, It just disproves this created concept, Why would God exist an entire eternity? And if He wasn't always here in the final explanation, then what created God? What was before that? You start getting questions here. And again, this loops back. What created us? Also, an important question. Why would God need us? Isn't He all perfect? And this entire hypertext of simply paradoxes that if you solve one, you get another, are pretty much an entire program of disproving God, or a creator, for that means. And you really need to start to think of it. If you're a Christian, you're supposed to, maybe prove me wrong. Start thinking about why, how could God exist outside of time? Because some would say, no, human brains are all just limited. Then, again, it's an unknown answer, because, who gave us this human brain that cannot understand God? He did. He did it purposely. If He is so powerful, He could have given us supernatural brains that could instantaneously understand Him or His plans and actions. But He didn't. He didn't give us such a supernatural brains. And again, it's God's fault. So you're blaming it on God? Well, that was it for this video. Subscribe to CDK007. Perfect Blue signing out.